no religious artifact on planet Earth creates as much fascination and controversy as the Shroud of Turin. Is this the real burial cloth of Jesus?
The Shroud of Turin, a silent relic with a faint human shape and 1,000 unsolved riddles, has plagued history for ages.
14-foot-long ancient linen cloth. The occasion attracts media attention because it is the first time that the cloth has been shown publicly in over 5 years.
Scholars call it a mystery. Believers call it a miracle. Now, in an age ruled by machines, Al dares to look closer than ever before. What it found has reignited an ancient debate, one that could challenge everything we know about faith, science, and the very nature of truth, the ancient riddle and the digital age. For centuries, the Shroud of Turin has fascinated people, kept in a glass case as one of the most debated artifacts in history. It's just a faint linen cloth with the image of a crucified man, yet it poses a puzzling mystery. Is this the burial cloth of Christ himself, or the greatest hoax ever crafted by human hands? Now, in the digital age, a powerful new tool, artificial intelligence, has been pointed at this ancient relic, promising to cut through centuries of debate. The claims flooding the internet is sensational. A hidden code, an undeniable truth. What did the AI actually uncover? And is this cloth a miracle, a fake, or something far more technologically unsettling? To understand the significance of these new AI claims, we first have to face the main mystery itself. The Shroud of Turin isn't just an old piece of cloth. It carries an image with qualities that seem impossible. These strange features have puzzled scientists for decades, long before machine learning was even a thing. The Shroud's biggest mystery began over 100 years ago in 1898, when an Italian lawyer and amateur photographer named Secondo Pia took the very first picture of the cloth. He developed the negative plate in his darkroom, expecting to see a faint, reversed image. Instead, he made a discovery that literally changed the world's view of the artifact. On the photographic negative, a shockingly clear, realistic and positive portrait of a man appeared. Pause for a second. The cloth's image reads like a photographic negative, an effect that should not exist long before cameras were invented. It was like finding a fully charged smartphone in a Roman tomb. That was only the start. When scientists later examined the fabric under a powerful microscope, the image became even more confounding. It's incredibly superficial. The discoloration that makes up the face and body only affects the topmost layer of the linen fibers, a mere 200 nanometers deep. To give you an idea, that's thinner than most bacteria. It's not paint, it's not a dye, and it didn't soak in. It's a chemical alteration, a subtle scorching of the fiber's surface, which instantly rules out every known artistic method from the medieval period. Then, in the 1970s, NASA researchers added a third layer to the impossibility. They took a photo of the shroud and analyzed it using a device called a VP8 image analyzer, a machine originally built to map the surfaces of planets. What they found was mind-blowing. The intensity of the image's shade directly corresponded to the distance between the cloth and the body. The darker areas, like the tip of the nose, were closer. The lighter areas were farther away. This meant the two-dimensional image contained perfect, encoded three-dimensional spatial data. No painting, no drawing, and no simple contact print has ever been shown to possess this kind of data. To make things more complicated, the shroud contains two completely different things. The faint, subtle image is incredibly superficial and non-pigmented. The bloodstains, however, are real human blood that soaked through the fabric, showing the cloth bore witness to two distinct and separate events. Scientists have tried burning, rubbing, painting with acids and radiation flashes. Despite all their knowledge and technology, no laboratory in the world has ever managed to reproduce all of these anomalous properties in a single artifact. So how do scientists explain an ancient artifact that seems to have features more fitting for a high-tech lab? For over 30 years, They leaned on one key piece of evidence: the science of dating itself. The mystery appeared to be solved back in 1988. The medieval verdict and what AI was tasked to find, the Shroud of Turin, is an artifact with features that shouldn't exist, but for over 30 years. The scientific world had one answer for its age: the 1988 radiocarbon dating. This was science at its highest level. 3 world-class laboratories in Oxford, Zurich, and Tucson, each entrusted with a tiny fragment of the linen to uncover the truth. The results came back with stunning agreement. The shroud dated with 95% certainty to between 1260 and 1390 AD. This verdict placed the cloth squarely in the Middle Ages, centuries after the time of Jesus, and conveniently matched its first known public appearance in France. The news was broadcast worldwide, and for many, the mystery was finally solved. The shroud was declared a brilliant medieval forgery. However, that was far from the final word. Almost immediately, scientists and researchers began raising serious questions, suggesting the problem wasn't with the test itself, but with the sample that was tested. The core argument focuses on sample integrity. The piece of fabric used for testing was cut from a corner of the cloth, an area more exposed to handling and damage. The leading theory suggests this sample was taken from a medieval repair. Evidence later emerged supporting this. Some analyses found cotton fibers and a plant gum or dye coating on the test sample, materials that were reportedly absent elsewhere on the cloth. Furthermore, chemist Raymond Rogers, part of the 1978 research team, showed that the medieval dated sample contained vanillin, a chemical that naturally degrades over time, while the rest of the shroud's fibers did not, a strong indicator that the main cloth was much older than the sample taken in 1988. Adding to the controversy, the shroud had suffered major damage in a 1532 fire. Some researchers argue this heat exposure could have altered the cloth's carbon content, skewing the results. Later re-examinations of the raw 1988 data also suggested statistical inconsistencies between the 3 lab results, indicating the tested samples might not have been uniform to begin with. These arguments kept the authenticity debate alive, and newer methods have fueled it further. A 2022 study used wide-angle X-ray scattering, WAXS, a non-destructive technique, suggesting the cloth could be nearly 2,000 years old, directly contradicting the 1988 carbon date. Here's the paradox. Carbon dating declares the shroud a medieval forgery, yet the image itself defies every known technique of that era. 2 scientific truths, both valid, both irreconcilable, and it's within this mystery that artificial intelligence entered the search for answers. The shroud was officially dated to the Middle Ages, yet its image properties were technologically impossible for that era. So, when conventional science reached a dead end, researchers turned to the newest, most powerful tool available: artificial intelligence. The appeal was simple. AI doesn't need a physical sample that might be contaminated, and it isn't swayed by human bias or faith. It simply analyzes data. By feeding high-resolution images of the shroud into complex neural networks, scientists bypassed the messy physical cloth and focused on the digital information encoded in the image itself. This approach quickly created the viral headlines we see today. The most sensational claim immediately took center stage: the hidden code. Viral videos claimed that the AI found a repeating mathematical symmetry and geometric patterns all over the linen. This wasn't just random noise, it was an organized design, a kind of blueprint so advanced that no medieval artist could have imagined it. For supporters, this was the ultimate digital proof, showing the image was created by something mathematically perfect, maybe even divine. Simultaneously, the AI became an artist. Programs like Midjourney began generating photorealistic images of Jesus based on the faint features seen on the shroud. These images swept social media, fulfilling a deeply human, spiritual desire to finally see the face of the man who was wrapped in the cloth. Whether accurate or not, the AI gave the mystery a face, and that's a powerful thing. These two concepts quickly merged into the third major viral claim, the resurrection proof. Proponents of the burst of light theory jumped on the mathematical findings, asserting that the geometric structures were not just patterns, but the imprint of a moment in space-time. The AI, they argued, had digitized the wave signature of a colossal, precise energy release. This is where the debate gets dangerous. In the hands of powerful algorithms, where does true discovery ends and digital manipulation begins? AI is designed to find patterns, even in chaos. So the central question becomes unavoidable. Is artificial intelligence truly revealing a hidden ancient truth, or is it simply being manipulated to confirm the beliefs people already hold about the Shroud? When these exciting claims moved from social media to scientific journals, they faced immediate and strong criticism. Scientists agree, just because a powerful computer spots a pattern doesn't mean it's solid scientific proof, debunking the clickbait and the quantum enigma. Let's start with the hidden code. The viral assertion that AI found a perfect repeating mathematical symmetry across the Shroud is highly scrutinized. Machine learning models are specifically designed to find patterns. Given the faint, fragmented nature of the image, critics argue that the AI is likely overfitting, meaning it is finding structure in what is essentially noise or random data artifacts. This is a common pitfall in digital forensics. Furthermore, these definitive code studies have largely failed to produce peer-reviewed publications, the standard gatekeeper for scientific validity. In science, if you can't prove your findings to other experts, the findings don't change the reality of the artifact. Then, there's the powerful claim of the face of God. Programs like Midjourney did indeed generate striking photorealistic images of a man based on the Shroud's contours. However, these visualizations are misleading. When AI generates an image, it relies heavily on its massive internet training dataset. Since the vast majority of art on the internet portrays Jesus with familiar Western features, long brown hair, a certain facial structure and fair skin, the AI simply incorporates these elements into its reconstruction. Experts and historians note that Jesus, a working-class Galilean man from the 1st century, would have likely had features like darker skin and calloused hands, significantly different from the AI's output. The image is an artistic interpretation shaped by centuries of European art history, not a verifiable historical fact unearthed by technology. These AI images, which often get attached to controversial studies, contribute to the confusion. For instance, some articles falsely suggest the photorealistic face is linked to contested studies that claim the cloth is 2,000 years old. These studies, which often use unverified techniques like X-ray analysis, are not accepted as a scientific consensus and certainly don't lend authority to a digitally generated picture. Finally, digital researchers offer a compelling alternate explanation for the Shroud's appearance, which supports the medieval forgery dating. Graphics experts like Cicero Marius argue that the Shroud's image is anatomically distorted in a way that is inconsistent with a real cloth draped over a real, three-dimensional human body. The image is too flat, too wide, an effect sometimes called the Agamemnon mask effect. Marius and others contend this distortion is far more consistent with a print taken from a low-relief sculpture or a similar artistic mold. A medieval artist could have used a sculpture, applied pigment to the raised areas, and pressed the cloth to create the flat, non-penetrating 3D encoded image. This possibility, though not proven, demonstrates a plausible, non-miraculous explanation. The key takeaway is that the AI analysis, for all its sensational headlines, does not overturn the 1988 medieval carbon dating. It merely adds another layer of interpretation to an already bewildering piece of data. The controversy remains unsettled by verifiable, established methods. The viral claims follow a predictable formula: an old mystery plus new technology plus a shocking, vague revelation, leading to high engagement but low factual content. The AI headlines may sound like clickbait, but they bring us back to the one question science still can't escape. If the image isn't a forgery and no technology can reproduce it, then how was it made? The only way forward is to confront the physics of the impossible. The core challenge is that to produce the Shroud's image, the energy involved had to be instantaneous, like a flashbulb, affecting only the very surface of the fabric, about 200 nanometers deep. This rules out slow chemical or heat-based methods. Plus, the image is perfectly encoded in 3D, meaning the energy had to interact evenly with the fabric's surface, despite the complex shape of the body beneath it. This combination of features makes the image's creation extremely difficult to explain with any known medieval technique. This led scientists and physicists to investigate what they call the unreproducible pulse. They've tried countless methods in the lab to mimic the effect. Experiments involving powerful electrical fields, known as corona discharge, can create a superficial scorch and short-pulse radiation, like an ultraviolet flash can discolor linen fibers. The problem is scaling that up. Scientists have calculated the energy required to create the Shroud's properties across a human-sized piece of fabric in a fraction of a second. The resulting number is immense, equal to a massive, localized, and perfectly controlled energy release. If the burst had lasted any longer, or been less controlled, the linen would have been vaporized completely. The energy was precise enough to discolor the fiber's surface while leaving the rest of the thread untouched. This physical impossibility led to the theory: the Shroud is an event record. It is a snapshot of something in the process of dematerializing or transitioning between states of matter and light. It's a precise recording of an event whose physics we don't fully comprehend, one that left a perfect two-dimensional shadow of a three-dimensional form. This is the resurrection hypothesis in purely physical terms, the result of a body suddenly emitting intense uniform energy. If the Shroud is an event record, then the image is not just a picture, but an energy signature. If it's a signature, what message does it truly contain? We've been looking for the source of the light, trying to recreate the event. But what if we need to look for the message within the light? What if the impossible physics merely served to encode an informational structure? This brings us to the most unsettling idea about the Shroud. The Shroud's true marvel might lie not just in the image itself, but in the intricate hidden message encoded within it. A pattern so complex and ordered that only the advanced capabilities of modern AI can begin to unravel its meaning. This shifts the mystery from simple forgery or art to something far deeper. That perspective really changes everything. Seeing the Shroud as a layered informational record, like an ancient form of digital data, opens up new ways to explore its mysteries beyond old debates. It calls for fresh scientific approaches and technologies, especially AI, to decode what might be a hidden message from the past rather than just an image. Remember the viral claims of AI finding repeating symmetry? We re-examine those findings now, not as artistic flaws, but as phase coherence lines. Tiny, precise, parallel structures running at specific intervals across the linen fibers. These lines represent points of perfect harmonic order. When energy transfers an image, it sometimes creates these signatures, almost like a signature in the fabric of space-time. We can hypothesize that these lines are a form of compressed holographic data. If we apply advanced wave-frequency algorithms, a theoretical extension of the AI's pattern recognition software, we find that these patterns do not produce random noise. Instead, they translate into a structural language. This language contains two specific elements: pure harmonic tones, matching fundamental musical ratios, and the proportional constants used in ancient sacred architecture, like the golden ratio, NPHI, a space-time barcode, an encoded representation of perfect order, emerging from chaos at the moment the image was imprinted. This leads to the conclusion that the Shroud becomes the world's first known quantum hard drive. It stores not just a picture, but a precise structural message at the intersection of matter and mathematics. The immense energy pulse required to form the image wasn't random or chaotic. It was perfectly controlled and precise enough to imprint a preserved informational echo of a physical transition. This theory sidesteps the debate entirely. Whether the linen is medieval or 2,000 years old is less important than what is encoded on it. If a medieval sculptor or a first-century body produced this image, the result is still a technological paradox. It is physically fragile. It is physically fragile, only nanometers deep but informationally robust, surviving millennia. The Shroud asks us one last question. Was this impossible energy event intended to create a picture for the eye, or was it meant to encode data for the machine? The Shroud of Turin remains an enigma. AI confirms its complexity and its impossible nature, but it offers no definitive, simple answer. In the end, we're left with a choice. Is the Shroud an ingenious medieval fake, a miracle of faith, or something far stranger? A kind of quantum message, preserved for a future advanced enough to finally decode it. The Shroud's code remains unbroken. AI confirms its complexity but not its authenticity. For now, the cloth is a mirror. Science sees pattern. Faith sees a miracle. The most powerful questions are still the ones we ask ourselves. If it is medieval, how did an artist, without chemistry, photography, or knowledge of 3D encoding, produces an image that still defies modern scientific replication? Was it an artistic genius operating 1,000 years ahead of his time? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, click on the next video on your screen. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries.